Welcome everyone to Monday Match Analysis. I'm Gill Gross. Today's episode is a preview of the 2022 US Open. I can't wait. Quarter by quarter, dark horses, upset alerts, popcorn matchups, quarterfinal predictions, final weekend predictions. It is all coming your way. I'm really excited for the Open. I should say, and I do want to start while I have pretty much everybody who watches my channel is likely going to watch this video. So I have a gig during the US Open. I work for US Open Radio. You can find that on the app. You can listen to me. As a result, though, I have no idea what my content output is going to look like. That's the bad news. The good news is by Thursday, I'm back here in LA, and I will be able to, for the semifinals and the finals and all that, full coverage on YouTube. So that would be the good news. Let me tell you where I stand right now. General thoughts. As I took I'm going to show you the back here, as I was filling out my draw today and thinking really hard about every single meaningful matchup and all that. Let me tell you what was going through my head and how I feel about the current men's field right now. I believe we are in store for the most wide open US Open that I can remember on the men's side. I think it's been a very long time since there has been so much uncertainty at the very, very top. It has been a long time since I have made a power rankings for a major, and I have felt as if number 3 and number 12 in the next out are as close as I feel like they are coming into this US Open. So I believe we're in for chaos. I think there's going to be some wackiness. And as a result, I found myself making sure to take what the draw gave me. That's kind of the common thread on my picks this year. The players I picked, I feel like they're in good spots because they have good draws. Because at the end of the day, I see a lot of top players who are not at 100% at the moment. They might be at 85%. They might be at 90%. And guess what? It's too competitive right now. It's not good enough. Even these top seeds, if they're at 80%, they're going to lose. They have to be 100. So I got a little crazy here. There's some strange picks. There's some wild picks. I was looking at my predictions last year for the US Open. Djokovic over Zverev in the semis in 5. Nailed that one. I had then I had Medvedev over Tsitsipas. Tsitsipas lost in the third round to Alcaraz. And then I had Medvedev over Djokovic in the final. It was pretty good, but it was like, those are the top seeds. Those were the top seeds. And it's not like that this year. You guys are going to disagree with some of these picks. And you should. Because there should be a lot of different opinions about what's going to happen in a couple days from now and over the course of the next 2 weeks. There should be a lot of different opinions. And sometimes that's just not the case. Sometimes it seems like there are only a couple of scenarios that are realistically going to play out. And doesn't feel that way. Canada wasn't like that. Cincinnati wasn't like that. Indian Wells wasn't like that. Miami wasn't like that. So this is where we're at right now. Without further ado, let's get to the preview. I'm sorry. I left something out kind of important. Novak Djokovic not being in the draw is a huge part of the reason why this is even more wide open than normal. So that's a massive factor that I need to not leave out, right? As much as there are questions about Nadal and Medvedev and Alcaraz at the very top that I'm referring to, there's also no Novak Djokovic. And that's sad. It's unfortunate. I wish we I wish Novak was there. That's how it should be. But at the same time, you guys have noticed by now that I am not here to give my take on COVID policy. I'm taking a pass on that. And I'm sure that most people can respect that unless you feel so strongly on one side or the other that you think it's an absolute disgrace that I don't want to say what my opinion is. But yeah, I have no interest in giving my opinion on that. All right. I do have interest in giving my opinion on Daniil Medvedev's quarter. The top seeds are Medvedev, Felix Auger-Aliassime, Pablo Carreño Busta, Roberto Bautista Agut, Alex de Minaur, Nick Kyrgios, Karen Khachanov, and Nicholas Basilashvili. My dark horse here, there's a lot of them. I think this quarter is excellent, by the way. Ruusuvuori and Draper play in the first round. The winner takes on FAA. That's really juicy. I favor Ruusuvuori. I think he's got such a solid backhand to just hold up to those lefty patterns. And I do think that he can overpower Draper maybe from the back of the court a little bit. So I like Ruusuvuori in that, but it's a tough call. And I think both are very dangerous opponents for Felix in the second round. I didn't mean to have Thanasi Kokkinakis in here, actually. However, yeah, I really didn't. I swear to God. But he's in there. I forgot to delete him. I don't see him as a dark horse, but I do think that he can beat Kyrgios potentially in the first round. And that's why Nick is on upset alert for me. Now, do I favor Nick? Like, if you're telling me, gun to my head who's winning, I pick Kyrgios. But I will say this about this Kokkinakis-Kyrgios match. Most players are able to play a close friend of theirs and just compartmentalize that and focus on the competition, and it doesn't affect their performance much. Nick Kyrgios has been a mess trying to play Andy Murray. He plays better. Nick plays better when he doesn't like the other guy. And as a result, actually, he manufactures a lot of disdain towards tons of his opponents. And I feel like when he plays buddies, when he plays Francis Tiafoe, for example, when he plays Andy Murray, there's a little bit of an edge missing. I don't think Nick deals with this particular situation very well. Most players, I would never pick match. I would never be like, these guys are buddies, so I'm going to that affects what I think is going to happen in the match. Kyrgios is he's a different cat. We know that by now, right? He's a different cat. And he's a cat that lacks some killer instinct when he plays his good buddies. And Kokkinakis is his boy. I don't like that for Kyrgios. I think that's dangerous. So I think he's on upset alert. Early popcorn is Carreño Busta versus Dominic Thiem in round one. I didn't think Thiem looked very good in Winston-Salem. He did get through a couple of matches. Beneficiary of a Grigor Dimitrov retirement. So, look, I think PCB is going to win, but it's going to certainly be interesting. Thiem is kind of defending his 2020 title since he didn't play at the U.S. Open last year. So, I don't think Carreño Busta is happy to see Dominic Thiem in his draw. I don't think PCB cares how Thiem has looked. You don't want to see Dominic Thiem because there's always in the back of your mind that concern that he's just going to play like Dominic Thiem. And obviously that would be difficult for Carreño Busta. This quarter, before I move on to my prediction, this quarter's loaded. Medvedev could make the semifinal. Kyrgios could make a semifinal. Bautista Agut, great head-to-head against Kyrgios. Great head-to-head against Medvedev. Those are his two seeds. Pablo Carreño Busta can make the semifinal. Felix Auger-Aliassime made the semifinal last year. I love these conditions for him. He can make the semifinal. That's it. I'll end the list there. That's a lot of guys. This quarter is loaded. Here's my prediction. I have Pablo Carreño Busta defeating Daniil Medvedev in the quarterfinal. Carreño Busta took out Medvedev at the Olympics last year. What you have with Daniil Medvedev from a matchup standpoint is two scenarios. You have some players that Medvedev doesn't like to play against because he doesn't have a shot tolerance advantage. That's Bautista Agut. That's Carreño Busta, especially backhand to backhand when he doesn't find that advantage in the trading, right? The second bad matchup for Medvedev is the net rusher, the serve and volleyer. So those are the two guys. And look, Medvedev, there's Kyrgios, there's RBA, there's Carreño Busta. Even FAA is someone who, when he did this in Australia, even FAA is someone who can serve big and come forward. I don't know that FAA has a serve and volley in him, but he has that, serve plus approach that, and the wide serve particularly to pull Medvedev out wide, go into the open court and come forward. He has that as well. So I think that Medvedev, who there are concerns about coming in anyway, at least on my end, with his confidence a little bit, the serving level, that's the biggest thing for me, and the pressure of being the defending champion and being the number one seed, which I feel like we've seen at times Medvedev a little bit vulnerable to being in that position, right? Indian Wells, he became world number one, didn't seem to deal with that well when he lost to Gael Monfils, just as an example. So there are a lot of reasons why I'm hesitant to pick Daniil Medvedev to defend his title here. That was coming in. Then I saw the draw, and then I was very kind of sure that I didn't want to move him through. Because if he had a great draw, again, I wanted to let the draw kind of guide me here. Maybe I could have picked Medvedev to go all the way because I still think he's a top player right now. But this is a nightmare draw for him. Let me address Kyrgios. RBA. He hates playing RBA. Bautista Agut has seemingly always does a really good job of returning Nick's serve, believe it or not. And I think the steadiness bothers Kyrgios. Nick tends to get bored sometimes in that matchup. Bautista Agut is the guy who took him out at last year's U.S. Open. As I said, I think the Kokkinakis matchup is dangerous as well. So I have RBA over Kyrgios in the third round. It's actually what I had at Wimbledon, and then Bautista Agut got COVID. And I have some questions about how Nick is going to handle this mentally now. A major is a different animal now. And I think he might feel some stress and some pressure. And I'm still not convinced that he handles that extremely well. I feel like the high, the rush is kind of over for him. The streak is over for him. And I just feel like Kyrgios might cool off a little bit, as talented as he is. And again, I don't like his draw. So Carreño Busta is the guy. Now it comes down to Carreño Busta and Felix. And I like PCB's path, and I just feel like FA's level has fluctuated so much that I really don't know what to expect out of him. And then here's another guy. Mentally, I feel like he's going to feel a lot of pressure defending semifinal points, and I don't know that he's ready for that. PCB lost in the first round last year to Maxime Cressy, who he was probably like super surprised by because nobody knew who Cressy was. And PCB was probably like, what the heck is this? And Cressy played amazing in that match. I caught the end of the fifth set, actually, and it was incredible. Carreño Busta has the best path here, and he's like the most steady and trustworthy guy here. So PCB back to the semifinal. That's my logic. Let's go to Stefanos Tsitsipas' quarter. Top seeds are Tsitsipas, Ruud, Taylor Fritz, Matteo Berrettini, Botic van de Zandschulp, Francisco Cerundolo, Tommy Paul, and Maxime Cressy. My dark horse here is Sebastian Korda. Korda has had a tough year, hasn't been healthy, as per usual, but he put together some victories in Atlanta, put together some good victories, impressive victories in Cincinnati. If he gets rolling, we know about his weapons, we know about his firepower, and by far, he's the unseeded player who stands out to me here. I also think that he's got a really great section of the draw here. Tommy Paul in the second round, he's got a 3-0 head-to-head against Tommy Paul. Then you look at Casper Ruud. He has he's way better backhand to backhand than Ruud, and he might be able to rush Casper in a lot of aspects of the game. and he can certainly handle, I think, Ruud's weight of shot on the forehand. So dark horse Sebastian Korda here. Upset alert, I say wait until the third round. I go through the first round matchups here with the seeds. Tsitsipas versus qualifier. Cressy versus Fucsovics. Cerundolo, I think, will beat Murray. Berrettini versus Hugo Dellien. Fritz qualifier. Van de Zandschulp versus qualifier. Tommy Paul, Zapata Miralles. Casper Ruud against what will probably be a very rusty Kyle Edmund. There's no upsets there. I just don't see it. Now in the third round, you have some very interesting things going on with the top seeds. You have potentially Tsitsipas, Cressy. Now, Cressy is not a player who I trust. Like, the margins are tiny in his matches. A lot of tie breaks. A lot of variance on his second serve. He can have a day where he's not double faulting. Incredible second serve. He can have a day where he keeps double faulting. And if you're Cressy, you double fault twice, 3 times in one game, you get your serve broken, you probably lost the set because you don't break serve enough. So Cressy is not a trustworthy player, but he's only got to win 2 matches to get to Tsitsipas. And if he does, that's awful for Stefanos. That's another terrible third-round matchup for Stefanos. And he had Borna Coric in 2020. He had Alcaraz in 2021. This ain't any better. It's not, because the weakness of Stefanos Tsitsipas' game is the return of serve. The U.S. Open is lightning quick these days, and all you need to beat Cressy is a good return of serve. That's literally the skill that is required. So that's a nightmare for Tsitsipas. It really is. Also, Cressy seems to frustrate people mentally, and Tsitsipas has seemed weirdly in and out. He's been in and out recently. I actually like the level. I like a lot of the tennis I've seen. It's honestly just some mental stuff that has had me scratching my head recently. All right. What else? Oh, yeah. Korda Ruud is the other third round that I was referring to. Let's go to my prediction. I have Taylor Fritz defeating Matteo Berrettini. You might say, Gil, what are you talking about? First of all, Berrettini hasn't won a match on the North American hard courts. Probably a little bit overblown, given his opponents, given how close the matches have been. Well, sorry, Carreño Busta, he got killed, but I believe he lost, a third set tiebreak to Tiafoe? Is that right? Let me fact check myself here so that I'm not getting it wrong. I think that Berrettini's struggles in form probably a little bit overblown. Yeah, I was correct. It was a third set tiebreak, losing to Tiafoe. Probably a little bit overblown. He's probably going to be fine here. He's a very difficult player to upset, especially in best out of 5, and he's got an amazing draw here. It's really good. I mean, his run is Dellien, clay court specialist, Pablo Andujar or Tomas Martin Echeverry, clay court specialists, Francisco Cerundolo. This court's too fast for him. I love Francisco Cerundolo, but the court's too fast for him. Cressy, that's going to be tiny margins. Berrettini's just more clutch and more reliable than Cressy. Now he's in the quarters. Boom. So I have Berrettini in the quarters, and then I have Taylor Fritz. Fritz has an incredible draw as well. He's got to be really happy. This quarter isn't so bad. I think there's opportunity in this quarter, besides for Ruud, unfortunately, potentially having to play Tommy Paul or Korda, and Tsitsipas potentially having to play Cressy. Other than that, this quarter is not so bad. And Fritz with qualifier, Bedene, Botic, Van de Zandschulp, Korda to make the quarters. And then I have Fritz over Berrettini. Look, Taylor Fritz, I've been high on him. I've been saying he's a top 10 guy, and all he's done so far has proven me correct. That's all he's done. Said it in January that he was playing a top 10 level, and now he missed almost all of clay court season, and he did better than pretty much everyone besides Nadal above him in the race at Wimbledon, and didn't get rewarded for it. And he's still 10th in the race. Missed all of clay season, didn't get any points for a run at Wimbledon, which was far superior to pretty much everybody. and he's still 10th in the race. On hard courts, look at his record against top 20 players. Winning, not even 500, winning record. Look at it. Look at all the top 10 wins, the quality wins that he's had. And he's kind of coming off injury, but I think at this point he's playing well. He looked pretty good in that match against Medvedev last week in Cincinnati, even though he didn't win it and fell off in the second set. And I think he's in really good shape here. Early popcorn match I didn't address is Cerundolo versus Murray. And yeah, again, I told you guys that I didn't want to keep putting Murray as popcorn match every single tournament, but what can I say? Nothing else is better here. And once again, he draws a seeded opponent. I think it's a horrendous matchup for Andy, though. I think Cerundolo is going to have a lot of time to load up his forehand. Murray really needs to try to get into the backhand-to-backhand exchange because the forehand-to-forehand is going to be trouble for Andy. Okay, let's go to Carlos Alcaraz's quarter. Shall we? Top seeds are Carlitos, Hubert Hurkacz, Jannik Sinner, Marin Cilic, Grigor Dimitrov, Dan Evans, Borna Coric, and Lorenzo Musetti. My dark horse here is Adrian Mannarino. If these U.S. Open courts are playing like last year, think about how well Peter Gajavcek played how well he played last year. For example, think about Oscar Otta, how well he played at the U.S. Open last year. These like very flat hitters, craftier guys, and I just like how Mannarino has played in big matches. Now, he's going deep in Winston-Salem. Do I love that? No. Will Mannarino hit a physical wall likely at some point? Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen if he's able to make a run. But I just feel like he's looked pretty dangerous all year long at points when the conditions suit him. Obviously, if the court's slow, Mannarino might as well. I'm not going to be too mean, but you get the point. My upset alert here is Hubert Hurkacz. Hurkacz plays Oscar Otta round one, and Otta hasn't played since Wimbledon. He had an incredible grass court season, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he's injured. I'm assuming he's injured. Why else wouldn't he be playing? But he's back, and I don't know what version of Oscar Otta we're going to get here, but if it is anything like normal Oscar Otta, that's a terrible draw for Hubert Hurkacz. That is exactly the guy that gives him trouble. Extreme variety, lots of different spins on the backhand, lots of off-pace balls, mixing it in with, injections of pace to the forehand to rush the forehand. Otta's got a big serve. Otta comes to net. It's just Hurkacz can become easily confounded when guys are throwing a lot of different things his way. And there's just a lot of pressure on Hubie, unfortunately, right now at the slams, I think. And I don't think this is a good spot for him. I really don't. However, if he does get through Oscar Otta, and maybe Oscar Otta is going to suck because he hasn't played, that's a possibility. So let's say he gets through Oscar Otta. I do think I have him playing Ilya Ivashka in the second round. That's actually a very favorable matchup for Hurkacz. That's like the opposite. That's the anti-Otta in a way, because Ivashka just tries to hit through dudes, and Hurkacz is going to be like, cool, I get to stay back and redirect and counterpunch. That's awesome. That's what I like. Oh, and Ivashka tries to take the return early. Hurkacz is going to be like, cool, I'm going to serve way too big for you to do that. All right. Early popcorn. Yeah, I don't love this. I don't really see much of an early popcorn, to be honest, but I'm going to go with Alcaraz versus Baez. I love to watch Baez. I love to watch Alcaraz. How could you go wrong? Early popcorn. Boom. I do want to say one more note here, though. There was a charity match or a charity event last night for Ukraine. I forgot what it was called, but lots of players played. And they were playing doubles. And Carlos Alcaraz played a doubles match with Taylor Fritz, Tommy Paul, and I think it was Francis Tiafoe. And they announced them coming out. Tommy Paul comes out, and Fritz comes out, and blah, blah, blah. And Alcaraz comes out. Oh my God, Alcaraz got the biggest pop from the crowd, and it wasn't even close. Not even close. So I think there's a major love affair with Alcaraz in the U.S. Open crowd. That's the sense that I got last year, and I think it might only be accentuated this year. They love him, and I do think Carlos feeds off of that energy. I'm quite high on Alcaraz here, and I will leave it at that. No, let me not leave it at that before I get to the predictions. Alcaraz Coric could be a very interesting third round. I want to quickly address that. Coric does have some qualities that have bothered Alcaraz this year. A big serve, apparently. This is new, but apparently he's got a big serve. And I don't think Alcaraz has put enough returns in play against big servers recently, especially second serve returns. He also has been vulnerable against certain guys who are backhand centric, and they can be more consistent backhand to backhand. So Coric has both of those things, and that has bothered Carlos. However, I do feel that Coric might not be quite aggressive enough as a player to bother Carlitos on this surface. You know, Alcaraz's offense is going to be really potent, just like it was last year. So I feel like the best bet you have at beating him is to really take charge, to be pretty aggressive, to make him defend, to make him uncomfortable in neutral trading. And I don't quite think Coric has that. I don't think he's quite aggressive enough as a player. Let me get to my quarterfinal prediction now. I have Jannik Sinner defeating Carlos Alcaraz. Real quick, here's the difference between Sinner and Coric. To me, Sinner's weight of shot in from neutral in rally. I think Sinner's weight of shot is extremely bothersome, more so than Coric's. That's the big difference. So while you might not see Sinner as like a first strike player, he is incredibly offensive because of just how hard he hits every single shot, whether it be a forehand or a backhand. Sinner obviously has beaten Alcaraz twice. Is there a psychological edge there? Yeah, I do. I think so. I think Sinner would go into this quarterfinal feeling great. And I think Alcaraz would be feeling a lot of pressure, as he has as of late. And, you know, you also have the way Sinner has been returning Alcaraz's serve in these matches. You can't overlook that. He has been demolishing the kick serve. He's had an incredible read on Carlitos' serve, and that's the kind of thing that is normally something that can continue in this short of a stretch. And I'm high on Sinner. You know, there aren't that many results on the hardcourt that supports me moving him through to a U.S. Open semifinal here. And that's why he wasn't very high in the power rankings, because in the power rankings, I take my opinion out of it. But what he did at Wimbledon is super, super meaningful to me. He showed that in best of five, mentally and physically, he can bring the goods. And this, to me, is a court that rewards, to be honest, kind of similar skills at this point in time. And Sinner's got a really good draw. Here's the path I have for Sinner. I have him beating Daniel Altmaier, Pedro Martinez, Brandon Nakashima, because I don't know what kind of shape Dimitrov is in here, Adrian Manarino, because I have Hurkacz going down at some point to either Atta or Manarino. Goffin is in there as well, by the way. And then he's in the quarters. That is probably the easiest path to the quarters that I have, period. I don't think anybody has an easier path to the quarters. I don't know. Comparable with Fritz, maybe. So, there you have it. Let us move on to the final quarter of this preview. Rafael Nadal's. Top seeds are Nadal, Cameron Norrie, Andrei Rublev, Diego Schwartzman, Denis Shapovalov, Francis Tiafoe, Holger Rune, and Miomir Kecmanovic. A lot of people have been saying that Rafa's got a great draw. Rafa's got a great draw. I am here to tell you that I agree. I agree. It's a really good draw. Rafa should be happy. Let's just run through the seeds real quick. Should we do that? Yeah, we should. Cam Norrie, favorable 5 through 8. Is he the best 5 through 8? Let's do that now. Let's see real quick. So, Nadal could have gotten Felix. I'd rather have Norrie. Nadal could have had Rude. Okay. I think actually Norrie for Nadal, not in general, but for Nadal, Norrie is probably tougher. Okay. Could have had Hurkacz. If they played, Hurkacz, Nadal, well, maybe the 5 through 8s just aren't. Yeah, okay, so the 5 through 8s aren't awesome, I guess is what we're finding here, except Felix. I don't think you want Felix here. Okay, that was a useful exercise live on the air. But I think, when you look at Diego Schwartzman as the highest potential 4th round seed, incredibly favorable. You look at Francis Tiafoe and Kecmanovic and Holger Rune, who's not in any kind of form. At the end of the day, and Andrei Rublev. Whoa, did I miss Rublev? No, he's in there. Good. Andrei Rublev. If you're asking me, what's the most dangerous scenario for Rafa? The most dangerous scenario. For me, it's actually if Denis Shapovalov somehow makes the quarterfinal. To me, that's the most dangerous scenario because that means it's, the Denis that is feeling it, and you don't want that, and you don't normally see that. Again, that's maybe 5% of the time or 10% of the time, but that's probably, from a firepower standpoint, that's probably the scariest thing that Nadal has here. Although I don't think Cam Norrie should be entirely slept on because he has really shown, I don't think he's played top guys well is the only thing. Okay, I'm going to stop talking and let's get to the dark horse before I divulge more. Oh no, I think I missed an early popcorn here. I'll have to do that live. My dark horse is Jack Sock. Sock, as long as the points don't get long and arduous where Sock has fitness issues and players can get it to his backhand and he's in trouble. As long as that's not happening with Sock, he's good when he's also, very mentally engaged. He played well in New York last year. He really seemed to enjoy the conditions. And I think opportunity is certainly knocking once again for Jack Sock. Playing Diego Schwartzman round 1, I do think that is doable for Jack. And if he gets through that, perhaps Jerry, perhaps Popperin or Shang or Francis Tiafoe, I do think that there's some opportunity there. So it's Jack Sock. Do I feel overly emphatic about that? Not really. My upset alert is Holger Rune. He's really struggled. He gets Gayavchik round 1. Gayavchik has not been in the best of form. In fact, he's not having a good year. But he was excellent in New York last year. These courts are a little quick for Rune. He's not really serving well enough to have success on in these conditions at the moment. And if Rune gets through Gayavchik, it could be Isner round 2, who is tricky. He's still tricky, Isner. His body breaks down eventually. Round 3, round 4, Isner's body is usually gone by then. But he can be tricky first couple rounds. There is no doubt about that. My early popcorn, let me take a gander here because I couldn't pick one. Fanini Karatsev is interesting, but not. Is there just none? Maybe there's just none, and that's why I left it. I know I didn't leave it blank intentionally, but I'm not really seeing much here, if we're being honest. Yeah. Chapeau Munar is my weird hipster interest because it's like the most aggressive player in tennis versus maybe like the most retrieving oriented player in the top 100. So yeah, I kind of like that one. Quarterfinal prediction. Nadal defeats Cam Norrie. Here's the path I have for Nadal. Rafa beats the reciprocal Australian wild card who's outside the top 200, Rinky Hijikata in the first round. Fognini in the second. There's a little bit of a triangle going on. Like, I think Karatsev is a scarier matchup for Nadal, but I think Fognini will beat Karatsev because I think Fognini will have a ton of success counterattacking against Karatsev's aggressive court position. So that's how I see it. Fognini against Nadal. I don't think we're going to see a repeat of, what was it, 2014? Was that it? Might have my year wrong. Might not. I don't know. The 5-set win when he came back from 2 sets to love down. Then he gets Kecmanovic. Look, Kecmanovic, little underpowered against a Rafa. Francis Tiafoe is who I have him playing 4th round. And yeah, and then Norrie. So it's a really good draw. I have my questions about Rafa. I do. He comes in having played 1 match since Wimbledon. There is an injury that is a scary one, that sometimes takes a little, quite a bit of time in the abdominal tear. And I worry about how well he's going to serve. I wonder about the rhythm, but we know that it's possible for Nadal to play himself into form in the best of 5 Grand Slam format, where you have a day off in between matches, 128 draw 32 seeds, all that. And if there is a draw that is going to allow himself to get his rhythm and play himself in, it is this draw. So, with that said, let's go to the final weekend. In the semifinals, I went back and forth on this. Fritz versus PCB. I shudder. I got to be honest. I shudder to think about the nerve management issues in that match. I have questions about Taylor's ability to handle his nerves. I have questions about Carreño Busta's ability to handle his nerves. Again, I put those guys through because I love their draws, and I think, I feel good about their levels on hard courts, and I feel like they're, what you're going to get. And Fritz, I'm a fan of his weapons. PCB, he's just so solid and well-rounded. So as much as all of that is true, these guys don't have good nerve management. And if they play each other in the semifinals, ooh-wee. I went with Fritz here because of, I'm not sure, weapons. Weapons is why I went with Fritz. That's pretty much it. It's a tough call. I went back and forth here. Nadal versus Sinner. Nadal in 4. Just thinking about the Nadal-Sinner matchup, I don't have that much to say. Obviously, Sinner has the kind of backhand that you need in order to play Nadal well. Rafa, Rafa just has a lot more. I guess the concern for Sinner would be you give Nadal comfortable. You let Nadal get comfortable. You give him rhythm, which Sinner does, and Nadal can really get going with his ability to use his baseline variety, find his forehand, and construct and dictate points with his forehand. Sinner is not someone who is going to be able to serve Nadal off the court. And if Nadal is at his best, he truly is still the best baseliner in the world. And Sinner would be having to beat him from the baseline because we know that, again, Jannik's serve just isn't Jannik's serve or his forehand in isolation, his +1 play. It's not going to really be enough to get Nadal out of his comfort zone and take away his rhythm. My prediction to win the U.S. Open: Rafael Nadal defeats Taylor Fritz in 3 sets. I think at that point there would be no doubt about how much better Nadal could handle that occasion compared to Taylor Fritz. Not to mention the return of serve being a huge X factor there. Again, Fritz is another great backhand who plays Nadal well and beat him at Indian Wells, but I do think the intangibles would take over in that hypothetical. I don't like to break down these hypothetical matches too much, especially in the final weekend. But the way I see this going is I came in with questions about Nadal. Essentially, I feel like the Red Sea is parting for him. And that's not to take any... I feel silly saying this before the tournament even starts, right? Do I really have to say that's not taking credit away from Nadal? Look, it's not. Sometimes great players, he's the number 2 darn seed, okay? You got a good draw. It happens. It's happened to Novak. It's happened to Roger. It'll happen to many others. Nadal's had tough draws. Let's not go crazy over this. Let's not be silly in the comment section over this. Nadal got a good draw. I think that's a key, and I really see him having a path to the title potentially that could resemble like a 2017 where he had, I don't think that easy, to be honest with you. I wouldn't think so, but where he had just a fantastic path and he was the class of the entire field. And that's what could happen. And it's not Nadal's fault that if that were to happen, I do think the top half in general has more potential. I think some more threats. I haven't done the numbers and see like how many players in the power rankings are on the top, how many on the bottom. Like I haven't ran those numbers, but I do feel like the top is a little bit scarier than the bottom. On the bottom, the main contenders, Sinner, Alcaraz, Rafa, right? Where on the top, I think that there's more possibility. You have that, Medvedev, Kyrgios, Tsitsipas, Fritz, Ruud. You have a couple of more. I don't know if Ruud, Felix. I still think if Felix plays his best, these conditions are awesome for him. And with that first serve and the forehand, if he's consistent, that's going to be a nightmare. So yeah, I do feel like the top half has a little bit more. But the way I see this going is I see a very chaotic tournament. I see a lot of surprising results going down, as you can tell by my predictions. Not that I'm going to be right on all of these. And I think Nadal becomes the beneficiary here, and Nadal wins major number 23. God, what a 2022 that would be if he won if he won 3 majors here. Who would have thought? And again, I didn't come in here knowing that I was going to pick Rafa. I really didn't. I had no idea. This was me looking at the draw and taking what the draw gave me. With that said, obviously Nadal came in as one of the players I certainly regarded as, needless to say, top contender. And again, I mean, just so much more intangibles mentally than the rest of the field. I will leave it at that. Enjoy this U.S. Open, everybody. Again, I don't know what the content is going to look like, but I'm going to try to catch up and do as much as I can. Maybe some shorter kind of random topic by topic videos, but I do not know. It will be a whirlwind. I am looking forward to it. I will share all of my experiences at the very least with you guys after the tournament, after the coverage of the semifinals and the finals. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the event. Say hi if you see me at the U.S. Open. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.